Welcome to Muscles and Magic the Gathering. Now, first things first, I am Bobby Maximus. I am the Muscles, these cards, Magic the Gathering, something that's been a massive passion of mine for 31 years. I started playing in 1994, started with Unlimited, so I'm a true old school Magic the Gathering player. And over the years, I've been fortunate enough to amass a massive collection. Over the past 2 years specifically, I poured that collection into building commander decks. You see, I used to build complete sets. I used to build 60-card decks. But recently, like I said 2 years ago, I fell in love with the commander format. And now I'm on a new path. The new goal, if you will, has been unleashed upon the multiverse. I want to build 100 fully complete commander decks. Now, what do I mean by that? 100 decks that exist in real time. I'm not talking graphics on the screen. I'm not talking building a deck and taking it apart. If the deck is on my deck list, I actually own that deck in its entirety. And like I said, the goal is to get to 100. At the time of filming this video, I have 57. I said this before, I'll say it again. Hopefully by the time I post this video, when it goes through the editing process and all that type of stuff, I'm up to 58 or 59. It is an incredible grind getting to 100 decks. And not just 100 anything decks. 100 viable decks, 100 really, really good decks, 100 decks that I can be proud of. I'm not just buying a bunch of precons and slapping them in a box. These are carefully constructed from scratch. And on that note, you click this video because you want to know about a little-known commander, a lesser-used commander, if you will, Jarad Golgari Lich Lord. And I say that it's lesser known. I say that it's not used enough, because when people think of a zombie deck, they think Hashaton, they think Timid, they think Wilhelm, they think the Scarab God. But this has an argument of being the best zombie commander. And I especially wanted to build this one because I can include the color green. You see, with my decks, I like variety. And I have a blue and a black zombie deck headed by the Scarab God. We have a black, a blue, and a white deck that's headed by Temmet, all right? But I needed to get a black and a green zombie deck. It's the third zombie deck I own, and zombies are one of my favorite tribal, one of my favorite kinfolk groups in Magic the Gathering history. This deck also allowed me to feature all of those Golgari cards that I really love. You see, in addition to my 100 decks, I want to make sure I cover up every single color combination possible. So with all that said, you want to learn about zombies, you want to learn about Golgari, you want to learn about sack outlets, well, this deck is for you. So let's start with Jarad Golgari Lich Lord, the man of the hour. Jarad Golgari Lich Lord gets +1/+1 for each creature card in your graveyard. We are going to abuse that. You pay 3 mana, along with a black and a green, and 1 colorless, if you will. That's a mana breakdown. Sacrifice another creature. Each opponent, that's key. Each opponent, not just one. Each opponent loses life equal to the sacrificed creature's power. And then if you sacrifice a swamp and a forest, return Jarad from the graveyard to your hand. So what is that good for? And why does that make Jarad such a powerful commander? You can avoid commander attacks. You could choose to put this in the graveyard, and you could bring it back and bring it back and bring it back and bring it back. So in this deck, we have a bunch of ways to abuse that graveyard as well. I've done a graveyard deck already, or Muldrotha deck, but this is another with a lot of graveyard synergies. So stay tuned. I forgot to mention that. You like graveyard synergies? This deck is for you as well. So that is Jarad. And before we get into it, I'm going to need a drink of pre-workout. I am the Muscles. I do work out. I spend a abnormal amount of time in the gym, but also an abnormal amount of time with Magic the Gathering. So down the hatch, a little caffeine to get me hyped up for today's deck because it's one of my favorites. First Planeswalker up, Liliana of the Veil. We got a lot of lilies in here because this is a graveyard zombie deck. +1, each player discards a card. -2, target player sacrifices a creature. -6, separate all permanent target player controls into 2 piles. That player sacrifices all permanents in the pile of his or her choice. We have Liliana of the Dark Realms. +1 ability, search your library for a swamp card, reveal it, then put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. The -3, target creature gets +X/+X or -X/-X until the end of the turn, where X is the number of swamps you control. And the final ability, you get an emblem with swamps you control, add 4 swamps to your mana pool. We have Liliana Untouched by Death. +1, put the top 3 cards of your library, even better, into your graveyard. If at least one of them is a zombie card, each opponent loses 2 life, you gain 2 life. -2 ability, target creature gets -X/-X until the end of the turn, where X is the number of zombies you control. And then the final ability, may cast zombie cards from your graveyard this turn. Great way to bring Jarad Golgari back. Liliana, the Last Hope. To 1 target creature gets -2/-1 till the end of the turn. That's a +1 ability. The -2 ability, mill 2 cards. Then you may return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Hello, Jarad. Let's cheat that commander attacks any way possible. And then the final ability, you get an emblem with it at the beginning of your end step. Create X 2/2 black zombie creature tokens, where X is 2 plus the number of zombies you control. Liliana Death's Majesty. The +1 ability, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard. The -3 ability, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. That creature is a black zombie in addition to its other colors and types. And the final ability, destroy all non-zombie creatures. So how many Lilies do we have? We have 5 Lilianas. Like I said, when I build decks, I want to feature my collection. Actually, I shouldn't say like I said. Maybe this is the first Bobby Maximus video you're watching, the first Muscles and Magic the Gathering video you're watching. Here is the deal. When I build decks, it's not just about, and let me put a creature out here so you can look at this for a second. But when I build decks, it's not just about winning. It's about the collectability. I want to feature every color combination. I want to feature every tribal, kinfolk, typal group. I want to feature every mechanic. Like, I am all in on my collection. And Commander, by the way, is the best way to display your collection. All right. Now, we're going to move on to the creatures. And the first one, a Golgari creature, this is a great one. Mazarek, Crawl, Death Priest. Whenever a player sacrifices another permanent, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. Incredible card. And we're going to be sacrificing other permanents. So we're going to bump our guys up. We're going to make some tokens in this deck. And this is one of the greatest commons of all time, if not the greatest common of all time. Nook, Wood, Bats, Flying. Whenever you create or sacrifice a token, each opponent loses a life. Each opponent. If you're making tokens and sacking tokens, this is massive. The Grave Titan. Death Touch. Whenever Grave Titan enters the battlefield or attacks, put 2 2/2 black zombie creature tokens onto the battlefield. Pitiless Plunderer. Massive in this deck. Whenever another creature you control dies, create a treasure token. We are going to be sacking creatures left and right with Jarad, so this is going to pay dividends. White of the Reliquary. Vigilance. White of the Reliquary gets +1/+1 for each creature card in your graveyard. And then to tap it and sacrifice another creature. Search your library for a land card, put it onto the battlefield. Tap, then shuffle. Told you I got to fill up on this pre-workout. We are getting ready to bust some weights in after this deck tech, if you will. But I'm also excited. I need a lot of energy for this deck. Geralf's Messenger, a left-handed magic card. You ever see one of those? Geralf's Messenger enters the battlefield tapped, and when Geralf's Messenger enters the battlefield, target opponent loses 2 life. It has Undying. You know we had to have an appearance from Sabra, the queen of the Golgari. The card says so. Whenever you sacrifice a black creature, you may pay 2 life. If you do, each other player sacrifices a creature. Whenever you sacrifice a green creature, you gain 2 life. You know, in a graveyard deck, we have to have Shouldering, the Whispering One. Swamp Walk at the beginning of your upkeep. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Another way to cheat back commander attacks. At the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, that player sacrifices a creature. Look at this. Beautiful card. The Golgari Grave Troll, and it is serialized. I put all my serialized cards in decks. I find a way to make them work. This guy fits in this deck, and I think it's an underrated card. Golgari Grave Troll enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it for each creature card in your graveyard. If you remove a 1/1 counter from Golgari Grave Troll, you regenerate it, all right? The Dread 6. One of the greatest one-drops of all time. It certainly has the argument. Maybe Esper Sentinel, but it might be this one, the Deathrite Shaman. Tap it, exile target land card from a graveyard. Add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. You pay a black, exile target instant or sorcery card from a graveyard. Each opponent loses 2 life. You pay a green, exile target creature card from a graveyard. You gain 2 life. Here is the motto repeated after me. Let the Deathrite Shaman eat. Yargle and Multani. We have the Slimer and Stay Puffed version. A couple of reasons this went in the deck. 1, it's Slimer and Stay Puffed. I love collectible cards. I love Universes Beyond. But 2, let's sack that with Jarad Golgari Lich Sword. Instant damage to an opponent. 18 damage. This is an 18-6. Sack it, bring it back. Sack it, bring it back. Sack it, bring it back. Wipe out the table. Great combo. We have the Ancient Brass Dragon. Now, not a zombie card itself, but it works really well with zombie decks because of the graveyard synergy spline. And whenever Ancient Brass Dragon deals combat damage to a player, roll a d20. When you do, put any number of target creature cards with total mana value X or less from graveyards onto the battlefield under your control, where X is the result. If you're playing black, you need this card, and it's a zombie, so it fits perfectly. The Gray Merchant of Asphodel. When Gray Merchant of Asphodel enters the battlefield, each opponent loses X life, where X is your devotion to black. You gain life equal to the life lost this way. Incredible in this deck. Another auto include, when a Cursed Marauder enters the battlefield, each player sacrifices a non-token creature. I'll show you a way to abuse this. You have it enter the battlefield. You sack it with Jarad Golgari. It goes back to the graveyard. You bring it back from the graveyard. Each player sacrifices a non-token creature. You sack it again. It's just continuous removal. Great card. Here is a true zombie dragon. Ebon-Death Dracolich. Flash flying. It enters the battlefield tap. You may cast Ebon-Death Dracolich from your graveyard if a creature not named Ebon-Death Dracolich died this turn. Zul Asher Lich Lord. Ward. Pay 2 life. You may cast target zombie creature card from your graveyard this turn. Hello, Jerry. Dire Graph Colossus. Enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter on it for each zombie card in your graveyard. Whenever you cast a zombie spell, put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield tapped. Lord of the Accursed. Zombie Anthem. All zombies get +1/+1, and they're going to get Menace until the end of turn. This card is massive in a graveyard deck. Gravecrawler can't block, and you may cast Gravecrawler from your graveyard as long as you control a zombie. You can sack this a bunch of times and just abuse Jared's ability. Champion of the Perished. Whenever another zombie enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on Champion of the Perished. We have the Relentless Dead Menace. When it dies, you may pay a black mana. If you do, return it to its owner's hand. When Relentless Dead dies, you may pay X. If you do, return another target zombie creature card, convert a mana cost X from the graveyard to the battlefield. One of my favorite zombies ever, the Worn Soul Trader. Sacrifice another creature, create a treasure token. The Tainted Adversary. Death Touch. When Tainted Adversary enters the battlefield, you may pay 3 mana any number of times. When you pay this cost 1 or more times, put that many 1/1 counters on Tainted Adversary, then create twice that many 2/2 black zombie creature token with the Tate. We have the Death Baron. Zombie Anthem +1/+1 and Death Touch. We have the Crypt Breaker. Discard a card. Put a 2/2 black zombie creature token onto the battlefield. I love discarding cards with this because I can bring them back. Tap 3 untap zombies you control. You draw a card and lose 1 life. We have the Zombie Master. All zombies in play gain Swamp Walk, and it regenerates for as long as this card remains in play. Lord of the Undead, Zombie Anthem, and Sidisi Undead Vizier. Exploit. When Sidisi Undead Vizier exploits a creature, you may search your library for a card, put it onto your hand, and shuffle your library. So a tutor. Absolutely love that card. All right, let's move on to the sorceries. And you know, in a graveyard deck, we have to have a Yawgmoth's Will. Now, back up a second. I have a lot of Yawgmoth's Wills in my deck. I don't repeat cards, but you'll see Yawgmoth's Will again and again and again with me. So I just want to tell you how many I am fortunate enough to have. We have 9 of them. We have one in my Hordes of Raccoon City zombie deck, one in my Fairy deck, one in my Markov deck, one in my Lurgoyf deck, one in my Magical Academy of Aretuza deck. That's a Wizards deck. I mean, we got 9 total Yawgmoth's Will. So again, you see a lot of these in my deck. It's because I absolutely love them. One of the best cards in Magic the Gathering. I'm actually looking at Game Changers right now, and it is not a Game Changer. It is a shame. It is that damn good. I think it's actually better than a lot of the cards on the Game Changers list. Love this removal spell, Blasphemous Edict. It's a great board wipe. You may pay a black rather than pay this spell's mana cost if there are 13 or more creatures on the battlefield. Each player sacrifices 13 creatures of their choice. So it gets rid of that pesky indestructible, right? Because people got to sacrifice it. Dark Salvation, put a bunch of zombie tokens onto the battlefield, all right? Then target creature gets -1/-1 until the end of turn for each zombie that player controls. Victimize. Choose 2 target creatures in your graveyard. Sacrifice a creature. If you do, return the chosen cards to the battlefield. Tap. Snuff Out. Love this card. If you control, and it's a great Universes Beyond D&D version. If you control a swamp, you may pay 4 rather than pay the spell's mana cost. Destroy target non-black creature. Can't be regenerated. Deadly Rollick. If you control a commander, you can cast this spell without paying its mana cost. Exile target creature. Incredible black card. Rise of the Dark Realms. Put all creature cards from all graveyards onto the battlefield under your control. Fair note about this, I don't really like the casting cost of it. I think it's a great card. It's a really high casting cost, but it had to fit in this deck because it's a zombie deck, and I'll talk more about casting costs, mana value later. Thoughtseize, super underrated card. This card actually goes for $5.77, and I think that's an incredible bargain. The fact you can see somebody else's hand in a game of Commander is a massive, massive strategic advantage, all right? And you can get rid of card from them. Buried Alive, let's put some stuff in our graveyard. Great way to tutor. Insatiable Avarice, one of the best budget tutors. You don't have a Demonic, you don't have a Vampiric, you don't have an Imperial Seal. Put this in. Now, you might be asking, Bobby, why don't you have a Demonic in here? Why don't you have a Vampiric? Why don't you have Imperial Seal? Again, I'm not slapping graphics on the screen, making the most optimized deck. I didn't have any left. I have a lot of Demonic tutors. I think I have like 20 of them, but they're in use in other decks. I want more. I'm trying. Give me a break. Until then, the Insatiable Avarice. Entomb, great way to put stuff in your graveyard. By the way, I call the graveyard the second hand. It is that powerful. And then Act of the Serpent. You're building a Typal Kinfolk deck. Just wreck people with this. Choose a creature type. Target player draws X cards, loses X life, where X is the number of creatures they control of the chosen type. So for you, you can get a lot of card draw. For an opponent, if they are playing Typal, you can really, really put it to them, all right? I've won the game with this card before. Great card. Let's talk about enchantments. The Dictate of Erebos. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent sacrifices a creature, doing double duty. Greater good, sacrifice a creature. Draw cards equal to the sacrificed creature's power, then choose and discard 3 cards. I told you we had a lot of sack outlets. Ripples of Undeath. The beginning of your pre-combat main phase, mill 3 cards. Then you may play 1 and 3 life if you do put a card from among those cards into your hand. And the Meat Hook Massacre needs to go in this deck. Every single zombie deck I have has a Meat Hook Massacre. When the Meat Hook Massacre enters the battlefield, each creature gets -X until the end of turn. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life. Whenever a creature an opponent control dies, they gain a life. All right. Let's talk about artifacts. We have the Golgari Signet. We need mana ramp in this deck. Arcane Signet, more mana ramp. Thought Vessel, more mana ramp, and it allows me to have no maximum hand size. Soul Ring, more mana ramp. We have some commander protection. We have the Swift Foot Boots, great piece of commander protection. We have the Sword of Light and Shadow. What does that do? It allows us to get a target creature card back from our graveyard to our hand again to abuse Jarad Golgari. I told you there's a bunch of ways we could abuse that. We have the Coat of Arms, a zombie anthem. It's not just a zombie anthem, it's a creature anthem. Great card for your typal decks. But take note, if you're playing against somebody that's playing typal or kinfolk or tribal, they get the bump too. Another creature anthem type card, +1/+1, and you could draw a bunch of cards. Let's just make everything in this deck a zombie, because listen, this deck is a zombie deck, but we have some non-zombie creatures, all right? We have, let me look through right here. We actually have a lot of zombies, but there's a non-zombie, 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 there's a non-zombie. Let's turn them into zombies, all right? Couple more. So that is why we have the Maskwood Nexus in here. Another great creature anthem type card, the Door of Destinies. Pick zombies. You cast a zombie, you put a charge counter on it, and then creatures you control that type get a +1/+1 for each charge counter. Then we have the Walking Ballista, one of my favorite. It's one of the most useful cards ever in Magic the Gathering in terms of artifacts. And honestly, I think it's a bargain to get this guy at $7.64. I actually should have featured this in my creatures, but I did not. I put it in the artifacts pile. I apologize for that. Some people, they categorize stuff different ways. I don't really categorize this as an artifact. I categorize it as a creature, but for $7, it is a bargain. Walking Ballista enters the battlefield with X 1/1 counters on it. You pay 4, put a 1/1 counter on Walking Ballista, remove a 1/1 counter from Walking Ballista, deals 1 damage to target creature or player. Let's talk about lands. We have a bunch of basic lands, all right? Bunch of swamps that I like. Oh, bonus content right now. Hold up. Pay attention. Listening ears on. All right, listen, we have a bunch of basic lands here, but there was a creature I forgot about, and how coincidental that it pairs up with the Walking Ballista. And Bobby Maximus has some homework for you. You are about to have some fun. We showed you the Walking Ballista, but I want you, when this video is over, I want you to go to Google, and I want you to Google this combo. Mikaeus the Unhallowed, Intimidate. Whenever a human deals damage to you, you destroy it. Other non-human creatures you control get +1/+1 and have Undying. When a creature with Undying dies, if it had no 1/1 counters on it, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control with a 1/1 counter. The ways you can abuse this combo, trust me, look it up, get it in your decks. That's your Bobby Maximus deck tech homework for the day. I knew I had a Mikaeus somewhere in there. We covered off basic lands. Now talk about non-basics. To have them go laboratory, you're going to add a colorless mana. You can investigate and create a clue. At the beginning of your end step, if you sacrifice 3 or more clues this turn, transform it. And what does it transform into? The Have and Go Mystery. When this land transforms into the mystery, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Told you so. And when the creature put onto the battlefield, the Have and Go Mystery leaves the battlefield, transform it again. Pay 1 life, add a black mana. You know we needed a Golgari Rot Farm. We have a Jungle Hollow. We have a Festering Gulch. We have a Blooming Marsh. We have the Shire. The Command Tower. Arguably the greatest commander land of all time. The Haunted Mire. The Soulstone Sanctuary. This is an interesting one. You pay 4, well, you can tap it for a colorless, but you pay 4. This land becomes a 3/3 creature with vigilance and all creature types. It's still a land. We have the Drown Yard Temple, and we have the Llanowar Wastes. There you have it. There are the non-basic lands. Now, there's a couple cards I want to add to this deck, and on that note, let's have a talk about how I build decks. First of all, the metadata, all right, in the deck. This technically is a bracket 3 because I do have an excess of tutors. I have 4 tutors. I would like more. I'm working on it. $758.56 at the time of filming and everything that I've went through in this video. The total mana value of the deck. Now, this is the thing that vexes me. It's 203. I always talk about mana value, and I talk about high casting cost things. Remember, I referenced Rise of the Dark Realms. I always want to lower that mana value. For a deck to be really, really competitive, it's got to be under 200, all right? To be really competitive, it's got to be lower. You look at a lot of these CEDH decks, they're like 148, 145, 143. I've seen ones in the 130s. That's why these zero-drop artifacts like Mox Diamond are so impressive. And by the way, I would have a Mox Diamond in every deck if I could. I just only own 3 of them, right? Want that mana value lower. This is 203, but it is one of my pet decks. I'm willing to let it go, and it's inflated. I got Slimer and Stay Puft. I just want to sacrifice it to do a bunch of damage. Mikaeus Unhallowed is very expensive. It costs 6. All right, we got the Ancient Brass Dragon. It costs 7, the Rise of the Dark Realms. I was really going to alter this. I might consider taking some of those out, but I really like them and they're powerful and it's a fun deck to play with. And not every deck I'm going to have is going to be an A-level deck, all right? This is pretty competitive, though, but it's mid-grade competitive. It's not one of my best decks, but it's one of the ones I enjoy a lot. And it's how I build. I do want to enhance some cards for this. I would love to put in a Gate of Phyrexia, which I'm going to at some point. I would love to put in a City of Shadows. I'd love to put in a Yawgmoth's Bargain. I'd love to put in, even though it's an illegal card, a Recurring Nightmare. I do play with banned cards. So there will be some changes to this deck coming. And on that note, I will put a link to the deck list in the show notes. I promise you that. But by the time you check, I might have changed this deck because when I'm done filming, I might go make those changes right now. I might include, I bought a lot of those Sonic Layers, Secret Layers. I might put this Soul Ring in there. Although Sonic doesn't really fit the theme of this deck, I might put this Command Tower in here. I am always looking to upgrade the collectability and the playability of my deck. So finally, I have an ask. You can help me. I'm really big into collecting, but I will admit, I'm not one of these pro players, right? There are some people out there that are incredible. And if you're one of them, I've had so many great suggestions from people in the community. Leave me some suggestions of cards I can put in this deck. Oftentimes, if it makes sense, I'll make the change, all right? So again, check the deck list, and it doesn't stack up with the video. It's because I've already made some changes. And I will tell you, every single night of my life, I do some kind of deck tech on the 57 decks I own. I'm building new decks. I'm currently working on a beautiful Sephiroth deck, all right? In this Sephiroth deck, there's actually a lot of cards in here that could go along with my Jarad Golgari deck, all right? Something like Grave Pact would fit really, really well in here. So if you have any suggestions for me, please make them. I would love to hear from you. The best part of Magic the Gathering, honestly, it's people, the like-minded people like you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for tuning in to Muscle and Magic the Gathering. Gonna have a little pre-workout, smash some weights, do a little deck tech tonight. You go and have yourself an absolutely fabulous day.